Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting on January 8th, 2024. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:03. Can we have a roll call, please?
Select Chair, Mr. Coy.
Here.
Select Vice Chair, Mr. DeRoche.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. Britton.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. Gifford.
Here.
Selectwoman, Ms. Bergeron.
Here.
And please note for the record, we have Town Manager, Mr. Colby, with us.
And if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And is there anyone here for public comment? Come on. Come on down.
My name is George Barnes. I live on 19 North Ave. I've been a resident for well over 25 years. Way before they built the Home Depot and Walmart came in, which created a lot of traffic on my road.
Hey, George, can you just speak into that microphone so the public can hear
And
you?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name.
George Barnes, Barnes.
Thank you.
And George, feel free to sit down if you want.
I'd rather stand.
Okay.
I got a problem with speeding on our street, and my neighbors would be here right now, but there's a snowstorm, and they're still digging out from the snowstorm. I've tried doing this politically right, I believe. I didn't come last month because my wife says, give it some time, we'll see what happens, and nothing's happened. I've been to the police department at least 3 times. I've talked to well over 6 officers about this problem, about speeding. I went down, I asked for their records for them sitting out front supposedly on North Ave to get speeders. They were there 5 times. I get their times that they were there and such. 2 in the morning, around 7 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and 11:22 at night. Of course, I didn't get many speeders. They wrote a couple tickets, which it says on here. They can't do nothing at all, they say. They don't have the police to patrol the area. I went down there to make an appointment with the chief of police to talk to him about it. I talked to the secretary a couple of weeks ago. I haven't even heard from him, and I'm upset about that. I'm very upset about that. At least I should have got a phone call. They said he wasn't in. I don't know when he's in. When is he in? I'm asking my town council, when is he in?
You should be there every day.
Oh, he's not, because he hasn't called me. Okay? I'm not blaming the officers at all. They're doing the best they can. What few are working. Okay? You know, this started, I came here in the beginning of November. It's in the January right now. The total time that they've spent on North Ave is less than an hour. 1 hour, okay? And that's 5 different times. Got the officers' names, the dates, and all. This goes way back. I've asked numerous times, but it's only, I'm documenting everything right now on my calendar, so nothing gets missed. I even talked to the state foreman that's in charge of the road and asked him about it. He said he tried to give it back to the town. They have tried to give it back to the town at least 3 times, and the town refuses taking it. They're going to repave it this spring, supposedly. I asked them about traffic, because one of the officers told me if I get a minimum of 3 pictures with a speeder in the same car at the same time, they'll be there to get them. All right, if they can get them. There's over 10,000 cars that drive on this road now since they put the Home Depot and the Walmart in. Everybody uses it for a cut-through. So my SIM cards are going to go through the roof, as you know, all right, because they'll only take a couple hundred pictures. That's one problem I have. Now, I know we have a couple speeding lights, and that's what I'm looking at right now. You have one on North Ave coming into the town, okay? They're going to stop at the stop sign anyway. But going to Haverhill, they floor it, okay? Supposedly you were gonna reach out or have someone reach out to Haverhill Police Department to see if they could do anything. Nothing's been done, okay? It's 35 miles coming into the town, it's 30 miles leaving. The whole town's 30. You have 2 of these stop signs on Main Street alone. What do you need to get one put in on North Ave? What do I need to have the town put one in on North Ave? I want to know.
We can have the chief move one over there. Or flip it around so it's going the other way.
They were supposed to put, I went to the police department, I have it documented. They were supposed to put a lighted trailer in front of my house with the speed limit and how fast you're going. It was supposed to be there weeks ago, and it's still not there. I can't get an answer from the police department, okay? I'm being honest with you all, okay? To turn one around, it's not gonna get turned around. Nothing's gonna happen unless it's taken care of here. Now, do I gotta have all my neighbors come and have a petition? Even the mailman hates this road.
Mr. Bonds, I have a question. Is there a more time than other that you find that there's a lot of speeding going on?
I've talked to the officers about that.
Okay,
And they said, let them know what time's the best, and I told them.
yeah,
Like 9 o'clock at night, they go. I've even been out with my son waiting for the bus, and speeders have come by.
yeah,
The other day, before the snowstorm, I was up picking up leaves with everybody, okay? And I almost got hit twice in front of my house, picking up 2 piles of leaves I had. I went over to the police department and talked to them.
right,
The officer that was there came out after I waited 15 minutes for him to come out because he was doing a report. And he said he knows exactly the 2 piles of leaves I had because he drove by earlier in the day.
yeah. So, I live up off of Pollard, and I'm having the same issue up there, and I voiced my opinion. And I know that I've seen police here and there once in a while. The problem is we only have a couple of officers patrolling 2 a day. So this is where the problem is. And with as busy as 125 is, I feel that there's a lot of their attention is up there because of accidents and whatever that is happening. As far as North Ave goes, I mean, I think that's something that Greg could do. He can reach out to the police chief and try to see if we can get that trailer up there.
2 weeks ago it was supposed to be.
And
there.
not
Still
only
not
that,
there.
but I think we should reach out to Haverhill because on their end of it, they have plenty of police officers in their city. I'm sure that they would love to put somebody up there more often.
And
And
the
that
last-
might help eliminate some of that.
Last time this came up, I asked if we could reach out to Haverhill. So that was going to be one of my questions is,
This has been going
did we
on-
Yeah.
reach out to
At least
Haverhill?
3 months I've been coming here,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Now, you have over 600 businesses in town.
Oh, I
You'd
know.
be very upset if they found out there was only 2 officers on duty.
Yeah,
They would be you'd have them all here, okay? It upsets me that we don't have the force that we need.
we're
all right?
trying.
I know you're trying.
We're
You've been trying for a while now.
We've been, yeah,
I know what's going on.
Yeah.
I see it all the time, okay? But, you know, they only showed up when I made a mistake, the
Yeah.
dates are here. When I came here, when I went to the police department, it's the only time they showed up. And they showed up for less than an hour the whole time. I've talked to my neighbors. I've even
Yeah.
gone out there and talked to the cops sitting out front,
yeah,
you know? And he goes, what can I do? This is the only time I can come here. Nobody else can come. He told me personally.
yeah,
I got their cards. It's
Yeah.
like they cannot do anything.
Yeah.
So what do? We do nothing at all? Someone's going to get killed or whatever on the road speeding or, God forbid, a child or whatever, because there's a lot of little kids on the road with, I'm telling you, 5 dogs have been killed on their street since I've
Yeah.
been there.
North Ave has always been, I feel like, a problem. It's kind of
seems,
like
yeah,
Main
there's always
Street.
some-
We've, especially, I know before we've talked about trying to get a light down there also. And I know we just had that meeting over at the library about,
Traffic calming.
yeah. And so I'm thinking that we had mentioned at that meeting that North Ave was another problem on
It is, and I
that.
know from what they said, if I remember correctly, the traffic calming took almost 10 years to get it to the point where it is here on Main Street.
Right.
So I think the next thing is we got to get the state to look at North Ave, because that's going to take a few years for them
Right.
to do anything the
Yeah.
way they move. But I think in the meantime, Greg, maybe if we can sit down with the chief and see if we can come up with moving that trailer up there, putting it.
2 weeks ago.
Putting it in the right spot,
Yeah.
and try to make a little more of an effort to get a few of the guys out there. And see if there's anything else we can come up with.
I've
for
given
ideas.
permission to park in my driveway. Both my neighbors have. They park out front where everyone can see them coming, whatever. They don't pull in off to the side like they're trying to get people. They're just there for a show to make me feel better so they can leave. It's quite obvious, all right, because they got other places to be. So what do I need to do to get a light put in out front? A speeding light? What has to
On the
be done?
trailer?
No, not on a trailer, a permanent one, like they have across the street, 4 houses up going the wrong way. And they have on Main Street here, one down by the post office and one up
The
on the curve.
radar
The
panel.
radar.
I thought I thought there was one originally on North Ave,
This is what-
coming
down
from
4
Haverhill
Coming
into
from Havel, it's
Plastow.
4 houses down on
Yeah.
the left, and they gotta slow down, they gotta stop at the stop sign at the end of the road anyway.
Right.
But on this way, they open up to go to Havel. There's no one to stop.
What do we have? How many of those do we have?
And if they do the road over like they say they're gonna do, it's gonna be
We have
even
2,
worse.
right?
Yeah.
I think we have 2 of those
We have 2.
telephone.
And I know they get moved around
ones.
town, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then there's one with the big, the one you have to tow.
Which I just saw recently, and I don't know where it is now.
I told them they could put it right in front of my
Yeah.
house. That's where I told them, they got permission to put it right in front of my house.
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk to you, see if we can get one of them moved up there.
Yeah.
Or flip the northbound one into the southbound lane.
Right, because it's going more
Yeah,
southbound.
because it's
than
not
north.
making
Because north, you
sense.
get into the stop sign, so they have to naturally slow down, right?
Slow down.
There's 2
The other one,
signs.
once you get past North Ave, you're heading towards Haverhill, it's like wide open.
That's right.
There's nothing to slow them down.
Nothing to slow them down.
But even if we put a sign there, I think we really need to reach out to Haverhill and see if maybe we can get them to monitor on their end. Maybe we can coordinate something, someone's out there. So maybe we could talk to the chief, or Greg could talk to the chief about maybe coming up with a plan and reaching
He's
out
in
to
there when you
Haverhill
call him.
and see. So he may have been
I-
on vacation.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So
And I know from a few years back, Haverhill was actually trying to be very consistent, and you would always find them sitting at, National Grid up there. They would be backed in there and sitting there.
I know people that called on them to make them.
Right. So that's why, and I don't know what transpired where I haven't seen them on that road. So I think just like we said, just reaching out to Haverhill and giving them a phone call and letting them know that it's becoming a problem over there. I'm sure they'd be willing to work with us. So,
All right, so we let it go to next month and we'll see what happens in between.
okay.
Hopefully we'll have
Yep.
some answers for you.
Yeah.
Hopefully you do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Have a good night.
And next time, if you want, just email all of us also when if you have any concerns, if you want to send it. Okay.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else here for public comment?
Ryan, 174 Main Street. Do we have, I guess this is a question for town manager maybe, do we have confirmation that the prime proposal, whatever it is,
The prime wetlands?
yeah.
It's not on the ballot. That was, I'm assuming that's the question?
What's that?
That was your question, is it going to be on the ballot or not be on the ballot?
Correct.
It's not.
So it's
Not this
done for
year.
This year.
Nope.
All right. So I continue the fight through.
But there is still a meeting on the 11th, this Thursday.
To discuss it
Yes.
specifically
Yeah.
for the Conservation Commission,
Yes.
or is it a planning board meeting?
Conservation.
Okay. All right. Another night to spend here. Okay.
Welcome to the club. Thanks.
it's a thankless job.
All right, Sanborn head ready?
Yep, they're here. You see, is Dean over there? Or is it?
Nope.
Where do you go? Disappear back upstairs?
Tammy, what time's that meeting?
7. I don't think there's going to be that much to do with that, but I'm going to grab some water.
Here comes
Oh,
Dean.
here comes Dean now. Just in time, Dean. So we have, next up on the agenda, it's the Sanborn Head SSI presentation. Did you want to preface with purpose or anything, or? Good?
Oh, good.
Hopefully everyone can hear us.
We can. Can you hear us?
We can.
All right.
Loud and clear.
Success.
Loud and clear.
Great.
And I know you have a presentation, if you just want to introduce yourself quick, and then you can get right into your presentation.
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm just gonna hold on a sec. Sorry, I was just figuring out how to share this.
That's okay, but thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having us. I can introduce myself and get
Sure.
just pulling that up. First of all, I apologize. I have a bit of a cold. But my name is Catherine. Thank you again for having us tonight. I'm the senior project manager at Selectmen and then the project manager on the fire project working closely with Greg and Tom for the last couple of years. So Jen and I are presenting today on the findings of supplemental site investigation that we've been working on at the fire station. And I'm actually going to turn it over to Jen to introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, everybody. First, are you seeing the slide, the first slide?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks for having us. My name is Jen Sanborn. I'm from in charge of this project. And as I said, I've been working with the town for a couple of years now. So I'm going to just start with a little bit of background, kind of going back to how this project came to be, only because it's been a couple of years since we presented, and it might just be a good refresher. And so we'll spend a little time on this, and Heidi will get towards the results of the investigation that we've done. So this kind of started back in 2019, 2020 when the Department of Environmental Services collected groundwater samples water supply wells in the area of the safety complex during the waterline feasibility study project. And PFAS was detected in several wells at concentrations that were above the state drinking water standard at that time, or the AGQS. And so at the time, Sanborn Head was retained by DES to conduct an assessment of what the potential sources of PFAS might be to groundwater in that area. And the fire station was one of the properties that was assessed as a potential source, just given its historical use of Class B firefighting foam, or Class B AFFF, which does contain PFAS. And so we conducted a site inspection on behalf of DES, and that in 2021, that indicated that PFAS were present in the soil and groundwater at the safety complex, which led DES to require the town to conduct additional subsurface assessment, which is the supplemental site investigation that we've subsequently completed. And that was done in fall of 2022 and the summer of 2023. So we split it over the 2 years to just to kind of spread it out. As a reminder, so this was a slide that we had presented last time we were here in 2022. It had kind of laid out a 2-year plan for the investigation, and so the first phase was looking at some on-site chemical data in the fall of 2022, and then the second phase was looking more at some of the off-site data, and that was done in 2023. And we now have the final report that is drafted and ready to be submitted to DES for the results. So just a little bit, I'm going to go through the scope of work for the supplemental site investigation. The objective of this was really to further assess what the potential sources could be for the PFAS contamination, and the extent of that those impacts. And so we looked at 3 potential sources at the fire department. The first is the leach field on the north part of the property, and then on the east side of the property there was that's where the fire training had occurred. So AFFF was released over in this area of the site, and then there was a former retention pond on the southern part of the site that had taken some wash water from cleaning trucks and things of that nature. So that was another potential source. So we advanced several soil borings and collected soil samples, and we also installed monitoring wells. And that's what each of these circles identifies is either a soil boring or a monitoring well for soil and groundwater samples. We looked at each of the different source areas. Just one thing to point out for groundwater is we had intended to get groundwater from 2 different depths because bedrock is fairly deep here, about 60 feet. And so we did get 2 different depths, but the deepest boring we were able to get was more around 30 feet. And that was just because of some of the limitations of the drilling equipment that we were using, which is more cost effective, as well as shallow groundwater table and some of the soil conditions. So that's something that Heidi's going to talk about in a little bit. We didn't get all the way down to bedrock in those wells, but we did get a lot of data as part of this assessment. So we looked on site, and then also we did some off site work so groundwater here is kind of flowing from in some areas of the site from north to south, but it's more kind of a westerly to southwesterly flow direction. So we wanted to look up gradient of the site here to see if there was any PFAS in groundwater that might be coming onto the site from a different source, as well as looking down gradient in the cemetery to see if there was anything coming from the site and migrating off the property. And also at this location at SH204. So we had 3 borings that were kind of down gradient to look at groundwater in that direction. And so I'm going to, actually one more thing. We did also collect a sample of drinking water from 18 Elm Street, which had been sampled previously, but DES requested another sample. And then we also looked at PFAS data a little bit more regionally that was publicly available, and to see how that compared to what was at the site itself. And so Heidi's going to talk about those results as well. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Heidi to go through the results of the investigation.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. So like Jen mentioned, I'm going to focus more on the actual results of the SSI work that we did, as well as kind of the conclusions that we made and the recommendations for next step. So this figure is showing the results of the on-site portion of the SSI and the work that we did, as well as the kind of the adjacent properties. So it's focusing on the samples that we collected, and then the next slide we'll take a step back and focus on regionally. So what this is showing is that each of these circles, each of the pie charts, is a groundwater sample that we collected from either a monitoring well, a temporary monitoring well, or a supply well. And each different chunk of the pie, different color, it represents a very specific PFAS analyte. So this is helpful for us to help identify potential source areas, as well as potential migration based on contaminant distribution, whether or not we're seeing the same PFAS ratios at each location. So this is kind of a tool that we used in the report and in our analysis. And the blue arrows are what Jen mentioned was the overburdened groundwater flow. We surveyed all of the wells we installed so that we could better understand which way groundwater was flowing. And as she mentioned, it is flowing to the west-southwest from the site. So that helps us better understand where the PFAS might be coming from and where it might be going. So this is showing specifically groundwater results. We did take soil samples as well. And there were 2 PFAS analytes that were detected in the former fire training area, PFNA and PFOS. And that'll be important when I dive a little bit more into our analysis and conclusions. But just those were the only 2 analytes that were detected in the soil in that area. The highest PFAS concentrations we saw on site were in SH102S in the shallow overburden, with PFNA, that blue chunk, being the predominant PFAS compound. It was detected at pretty high concentrations, order of magnitude above the standard. It was also detected in the deeper well, right adjacent to it, at SH102D. And again, it was PFNA that was kind of the predominant PFAS that we were seeing in that area. We also did see PFAS impacts in the retention pond area, but based on looking at the distributions, we actually think that that could be coming from the fire training area, given the way the groundwater is migrating, rather than it being its own separate source. The concentrations of the analytes that were detected in that area are pretty similar to the over magnitude of concentrations in the fire training area. You can also see from this that there was no PFAS detected or very low concentrations down gradient of the site in the cemetery. So SH202, you can see there is a pie there. There was 2 analytes detected, but really low concentrations. And the black dot for SH203 indicates that there was no PFAS detected there. Then also looking at the 2 temporary wells that we installed in the right-of-way, both up gradient and down gradient of the site, so SH204 and SH201, they had one analyte that exceeded, and that was PFOA. And it was actually detected at pretty similar concentrations up gradient as it was down gradient. And it's also the same analyte that was detected in 18 Elm Street at a similar concentration. And Jen, you want to go to the next slide? So this is now taking a step back and comparing all of that data to what we're seeing in the site vicinity. And you'll notice, or you might notice, that the pies, they show a pretty similar distribution up gradient as what we're seeing in the supply wells down gradient. So looking at the one major lane property, the main PFAS we're seeing is that green chunk, which is that PFOA. And that's what we are also seeing down gradient, and it appears to be the main driver, the main PFAS analyte that's impacting these supply wells in the area. Based on this and the fact that that wasn't detected in the site soil in the fire training area, we actually think this is a regional offsite source and not related to the fire department. I'll dive more into that in the conclusion, but just the visual here is kind of helpful to see the pie charts and the distribution. There were 2 supply wells, 30 and 34 Elm Street, that have more of a similar distribution to what we're seeing in the fire training area, with that blue PFNA chunk being kind of the main contributor and the highest concentration in the exceedance in that area. Those are located what we would think is the opposite of the bedrock groundwater flow direction. But I should note that we didn't do any bedrock drilling as part of this, and the bedrock hydrology is pretty complex. So we can't definitively say whether or not bedrock groundwater could be flowing that way. But it is pretty isolated. This map is only showing supply wells where there's exceedances, so there are additional supply wells sampled in the area, and we haven't seen that PFNA detection anywhere else in the vicinity. Next slide, Jen. So all of that data to say we kind of narrowed it down to 3 main conclusions, and the first one being that there appears to be this regional offsite source of PFOA that's impacting the majority of the supply wells in the vicinity. And from the data that we have, we don't believe that's from the fire station. There does appear to be one source of PFAS on the fire station property, or at least one, and that's in that former fire training area. And there is the potential that that is contributing to PFAS impacts in the site vicinity. It could be commingling with that regional source, but in most cases, it doesn't appear to be the main driver, except for those 2 houses on Elm Street. And again, the hydrogeology there is pretty complex, so there is a potential that that could have more of a connection if there's a fracture. But the additional bedrock investigation would be needed to fully understand that. So kind of based on those conclusions, Jen, if you want to flip to our recommendations. Kind of these are the recommendations that for next steps that we outlined in our report, and that we think would make sense. And the first one would be resampling 30 and 34 Elm Street, given those PFNA exceedances. They're pretty isolated, so it would be good to confirm those and make sure that that is consistent with concentrations we're seeing elsewhere, and see if that really does exist there. Jen mentioned earlier that we weren't able to install the deeper wells to the top of the bedrock surface. Although we didn't get that vertical delineation in the groundwater, We don't believe at this point that doing that additional assessment would make sense. It wouldn't be cost effective to actually get down to the top of bedrock and do that drilling. It would be a pretty costly effort. We would need to bring in a much bigger drill rig and a different drilling method. And the information at this point that it was give us, it doesn't seem like it would be worth it from a cost standpoint. Also, given that there is access to public water already in the vicinity, and that there appears to be this regional PFOA source, so we're not recommending that at this time. I will say there's a chance that DES will come back and want that additional investigation, but we're hopeful that with the other arguments that we can make, again, the regional source, the public water access, that they'll agree and not want to pursue that additional investigation. What we do recommend is moving towards focusing on the remedial side. So the next step would be a remedial alternative analysis to evaluate potential remedial activities for the fire training area. An RAA typically looks at a variety of alternatives, such as it could be soil excavation, it could be capping, it could be just long-term monitoring. And I will say, given that there are exceedances on site, the New Hampshire DES will likely require a groundwater management permit be implemented for the site, which would require maybe semi-annual or annual sampling of the existing monitoring wells or a couple existing monitoring wells to keep better understand how the plume is migrating, if it's migrating, if there's any concern. But that's something that would be looked at as part of that RAA process. As far as schedule and kind of timing of this, we would recommend the next steps be, so the SSI report that was submitted to the town as a draft, that can, once that's submitted to DES and finalized, we would recommend waiting until DES has reviewed that and commented on it before doing any additional work, in case they come back and either want additional assessment or have additional questions, but just kind of make sure that they're on the same page before we would move forward with any additional work. And then once that was finalized, we would be able to move forward with the RAA and the potentially the GMP, if that's where it led. And I know that was a lot of information really fast, but that's all we have to present right now. But we definitely want to open it up if there's any questions that you guys may have.
Carol Britton. One question I would have is, what's the anticipated costs?
Yep. So if DES agreed with our approach and wanted to move forward with just no more additional investigation, the RAA and the additional sampling would be probably around the $30,000 mark. The additional investigation, if they did require it and they wanted to get to the top of bedrock, would probably be closer to the $100,000, which is again why we're trying to recommend not doing that. And I'm hopeful that DES would agree with that.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jay.
Hi, my name's Jay DeRoche. Question on the resampling, the 30 and 34 Elm Street. Do those properties get notified of the contaminants? And then is it something that, it sounds like it's something that is already existing on that property. Does that mean they'll need to clean that up? Or is the town responsible for cleaning that up?
Yeah. So they were those samples were collected by DES. So I believe DES would have notified them as part of that work. My understanding as well is that they have actually been approached about connecting to public water. I think that they have either not connected yet or either elected not to. But that is available to them at this point if they wanted to.
And yeah, and then I think was the if so when it's resampled, they will be provided with the results. I think that was another one of your questions. So they'd be provided with the results of that sampling. And in terms of being responsible for cleaning it up, no. I mean, I think at this point there isn't any reason to believe it's actually coming from the property itself. So that wouldn't be something that DES would be looking at in terms of the property owners being responsible for it. And then in terms of the town being responsible for it, that right now there isn't, like Heidi was saying, the hydrogeology in that area is very complex, and there isn't really enough data to support that that is coming from the fire station itself. It is a similar compound, and so I mean, I think just in general, the best course of action for that property is to connect to the public water, and then or put on a water treatment onto their point of use water treatment system.
I think our intention was to connect to public water.
Go ahead. Good. Get something.
30 and 34 will be connecting as part of the PFAS project.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Great.
Good. So
That's great.
So will
That
we
helps,
still
yeah.
get a cost? Will it still cost us every year or no?
No.
Once we connect it, we should.
We have the grant to pay for the connection, and then they will have the water bill and the responsibility for the
Okay.
water bill.
Okay, so that's good. Then that'll connect them. And the grant, is there anything else that the grant covers? It's the grant's just for that.
No, just for the hookups. Yep.
Well, we certainly hope that it's the 30,000 and not the 200,000.
So I do have a question. I'm John Gifford. Does any of this is all subsurface, does any of this include rain and runoff waters from that area?
No, I think I believe right now that area is paved. Is that am I remembering that correctly? That's in the paved area where the firefighting training occurred.
Yep.
34 and 30 or
Yep.
not? And that's what my question is.
Oh,
Because that water inevitably ends up in my pond because it travels the railroad tracks and past Billy Bartlett's property in
Travels
my pond.
down.
so the
is
water
it
that
all
is
underground surface or is top surface water applicable?
yes, it's subsurface. Sorry, I misunderstood. That's so that we think that those are bedrock water supply wells. So those samples are coming from probably greater than 60 feet in depth. Yep.
Any other questions, comments?
What types of, I don't know, chemicals, compounds does the PFAS come from? Like, you talked about the fire suppression foam. What other types of chemicals, compounds does it come from?
It can come from a lot of different compounds. So Teflon is a common chemical that contains PFAS, and any coatings, surface coatings, like water repellent coatings, generally contain it. It's also used. It was used in chrome and plating manufacturing and those processes. So I think it was detergents. So
Like car washes were
car
another
washes, yep.
very common kind of source of them as well.
So
But
there's a
firefighting
lot.
foam was a big one. A lot of it was the water resistant, water repellent type uses.
Mhm.
Can PFAS come from petroleum oil?
Oh, I didn't hear
Petroleum oil, I think is what he said. I don't think there's been any kind of correlation with the petroleum oil at this
Yeah.
point.
Sometimes they'll see it at petroleum sites because AFFF was used to put out petroleum fires, and so there's that link. But in terms of it actually being in the oil product, I don't believe there's a link there.
All right. David?
You think it has anything to do with the construction up there in the back?
No, this is all started before then. Anything else? Greg, did you have anything you want to add?
All set.
So I guess as far as the remediation, we're just going to hold and wait to hear from DES and then possibly put in another study, the RAA would be the next step.
Yep. And that's a desktop study, kind of a office work. So that's not a field assessment. But yeah, so that would be the next step, is doing that analysis to look at the different options. And it kind of goes through, it's kind of like a feasibility evaluation of looking at cost versus benefit of different alternatives.
So there'll be estimated costs associated with the different types of cleanups or
Exactly.
remediations. Okay.
Great. And-
Yep, so
and
that's,
Any idea when they might hook those properties up? Is there anything scheduled, or probably the spring at this point? Seeing as there's 17 inches of snow out there?
I would imagine. So I'll know more on Thursday when we have a water meeting.
Oh, good. Everyone, well, thank you very much.
Thank
For
you.
coming in. That was
Okay.
well worth it. Appreciate it.
yeah, well, thank you so much for having us. Yep, for the opportunity. And have a good rest of the meeting and a good night.
Yeah, have a good night.
Okay, bye, all.
Bye.
All right, so next up, we'll review warrant articles that we have. I know we still have to go over the one for the CBA, and then I noticed we have a couple we only had 4 vote on, so now we have 5 of us here, we might
Okay.
as well get all 5. The one that we hadn't voted on would be, where are we here? It's the collective bargaining agreement for the police union. The article will be P24-04. Shall the town of Plastow vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement, CBA, reached between the town of Plastow and the Plastow Town Unit Teamsters Local 633, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level. The contract year will run for year 1, April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025. The estimate increase for that year would be $180,756. For year 2, contract year would run from April 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2026, and the estimated increase would be $179,942. Year 3 would run from April 1st, 2026 to March 31st, 2027, and the estimated increase would be $156,389. So to further raise and appropriate the sum of $135,567 for 2024. So that would be the amount that we would need to raise. The following warrant article, we can get to that afterwards, but those two would be tied in together. Are there any questions? Anybody have anything they wanted to add to that?
Just the language, the police, this is for the police bargaining unit,
Correct.
right? Is that the same? It says Plastow Town Unit. Is that correct?
No.
Okay. Can we get that? So that should be what?
That, the,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
the police bargaining unit or the Plastow Police Association unit. I think that was cut and paste from last year. I can look.
Just make sure we're accurate.
Okay.
It could take me a minute or two.
Okay,
so.
that's what I figured.
Well, the only thing I would say to this is that, we're almost fully staffed. I think we have still 2 open positions
We're-
potentially.
I think that's what it is. And
Right.
what this really does, too, it brings us up
Right.
to what competing towns right around us.
Yep.
And that was the driving force behind it, to keep us on a level playing field with everyone else.
Right. Make us a little more competitive so that we can get and retain officers here in town.
Right. I feel like I should be playing the theme from Jeopardy.
Sorry.
Well, the header across the top says police union.
Right. So that's what you would think it would be, but. Gotta make sure we're accurate, though, you know?
Plastow Police Union, Teamsters Local 633.
Okay. Do you have any further questions, or somebody want to make the motion to accept?
Make a motion to approve?
Second by Jonathan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it'd be 5-0-0. Now I want to go back, we'll do the one below that, two of that tied together. So the other one that'll be tied to this is for a special town meeting for defeated collective bargaining agreement, CBA, it'll be Article P-24-05. Shall the town, if Article P-24-04 is defeated, authorize the Board of Selectmen to call one special meeting at its option to address warrant Article P-24-04 cost items only.
Aye.
Any questions on that, or?
I'll make a motion to recommend.
I'll second it.
Second by Tammy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Now, I just wanted to go back, and all the ones we only had 4 votes on, seeing as
Okay.
we have 5 of us here. The first one will be the operating budget general fund, Article P-24-02. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant article, and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or is amended by vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $12,570,807, with the sum of $2,000 to come from the unassigned fund balance. Should this article be defeated, the operating budget shall be $12,846, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town or by law, where the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, 10, and 11 to take up the issue of revised operating budget only. Now, the majority vote required. When we voted on this, it was 4-0-0.
Need to make a motion, or do we just go to vote?
Oh, you've already made that vote.
Right.
So there's no motion to be made.
Right, but it's 4-0-0, so we have all of us here.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we can ask Tammy if she wants to say yay.
I'll make a motion to recommend the operating budget warrant article P-24-02.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it's that one.
Greg, as far as the language of the $200,000, is that DRA was
Is that
okay
the
with
only
that?
one?
Yes.
I don't think so.
All right, let's see what the next
The
one
last one was the fire department apparatus.
Yeah, let me just get to that one. So you can find it here.
It's on page 6.
Yeah, there it is, right there. The next one is deposit the fire department apparatus capital reserve fund. It's Article P-24-17. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $140,000 to be deposited into the previously established fire department apparatus capital reserve fund? Total appropriation $140,000. And quick motion on that.
Make a motion to recommend P-24-17.
Motion by Jay. Second by Jonathan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So it's 5-0-0. Nope. Transportation, right? The next one is the expendable trust fund transportation program. It'll be Article P-24-20. Shall the town vote to create an expendable trust fund under the provision of RSA 31:19-A for the express purpose of depositing any donations or other receipts received from or for the purpose of a transportation program. The transportation program is to provide transportation to those in need for medical and/or necessary appointments. Said fund shall be used exclusively for expenses incurred by the transportation program, and further to appoint the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend the fund. Majority vote required. This really is just to set up a fund so they can start taking money in for donations. If we can get a motion?
Motion made.
Motion by
Second.
Darrell. Second was Tammy. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 So it's 5-0-0. And we got, no, we don't have to Yep, conflict of interest. That was only 311. Conflict of interest ordinance, Article P-24-21. Shall the town vote to revise the conflict of interest code as set forth below? Subsection 56-2, election of conflict of interest committee, amended 3/10/2020 by town meeting, Article 21. A, membership terms. 1, the town of Plastow at the March town election will elect a conflict of interest committee consisting of 5 persons, 5 at-large members shall be elected to serve with staggered 3-year terms. 2, members will be elected to 3-year terms. Section B, members of the conflict of interest committee shall consist of private citizens residing in the town and not employees by the town. Strike the word "or" in a contract, and then add in a contractual agreement with the town or a member of other town committee or board. Section C, a town citizen shall not serve as the conflict of interest committee if they have a family member who is currently serving on a town committee or board. It would strike the words "family members serving on town committee or board does not preclude a town citizen from being elected in service on the conflict of interest committees." Then it would still add members of the conflict of interest will recuse themselves when a petition is filed involving a family member. And we'll add Section D, should a vacancy in the committee arise, the remaining members of the conflict of interest committee will elect the town citizen to serve out the remainder of the term year. At the following annual town election, a member at large will be elected to serve out the remainder of the term. Section E, add the conflict of interest committee shall establish, maintain, and update as needed its bylaws. Family members, including spouse, children, stepchildren, grandchildren, parents, step-parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, stepbrothers, stepsisters, will add uncles, aunts, cousins. Retain nephews, nieces, father-in-law, mother-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, son-in-law, daughter-in-law. Add the word or any member of the official's household. Looks like that should be it. If we can get a motion.
Make a motion to recommend P-24-21.
Second.
Second by Jonathan. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So 4-1. And looks like the last one we have is to vote on is the expendable trust fund for the Plastow Junior Firefighters Program. Article P-20.
Take that one off.
We're taking that one off?
Yes.
All
What
right.
about the citizens petition?
That's not one, we don't have to vote on that one.
Okay. All right.
Final budget review, do we have anything on that one? Or for final budget review? Nothing?
No.
Next up, we have review of HB 1002, which is the right to know that's going before the House. Did everyone have a chance to kind of read through this?
It's a good bill.
Any comments? That really has to do with, right to know. They had a survey that was put out there.
Yep.
And I believe we participated in the survey.
Yes.
Did you have anything to add on this, Greg? Because I know it affects everyone at town hall more than anyone.
No, I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Do you have anything, Jay, to add?
What is, from what I read, the overall changes is to include a cost item for any requests over 10 hours that might take 10 or more hours. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
And it also addresses, I believe, recovery of legal fees as well.
Okay.
Right.
Well, because they did a survey, it's pretty eye-opening. A lot of these towns have a lot of right-to-know requests. The thing that I found most interesting was there was on average, anything over 8 hours costs $2,600 of town resources and money.
And there's multiple departments in town could be involved in that right to know. And it pulls them away from their day-to-day jobs.
Right. And when we're inundated with right-to-know requests, it does affect how day-to-day operations are
Yeah.
able to continue.
Right.
So I think this is good.
I would agree.
And I think a lot of times when a right to know request is that involved 8 hours, it's probably involving legal counsel as well.
Right.
For either recommendations, redactions, things of that nature, which will drive the cost up
So,
considerably.
and where does that cost come from? The operating budget?
The operating budget from the taxpayers.
We pay it from the taxpayers. Okay.
Yes.
Just. All right. And they want us to either attend this hearing or write a letter of
Write a
support?
letter.
In support.
Yep, there's a
Yes.
letter already drafted in here.
Right.
If everyone wants to take a look at it, and then we can send it up if you want to sign it.
Yeah.
So you can take a look. Oh, Beth, was this the recap of what the town did?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what transpired here for 2023.
So just to give an idea, kind of the recap of the 2023 91-A request, there were total requests received was 57.
Yes.
And that can be deceiving as one email request may contain several requests. So the actual estimate for 2023 is 157. And what it does is we were mentioning it, many requests involve the work of multiple departments. And then it's coordinating that. And some requests, require legal responses as well. So that's even another additional cost as well. In 2023, roughly $5,200 was spent on the DTC law for 91A expenses. As we says, it does take up time. So that's why I do think it is a good bill.
So that 5,200 is just legal expenses
Right.
alone.
Right.
Doesn't include.
Doesn't
And
account
that doesn't
for
include the staff on
everything.
top of that. I mean, everybody has a right to know, but, sometimes some can be a little frivolous, some not.
Right.
Some obviously need to be done. So I'd say let's take a look at the letter at the end of the meeting, and if you feel like it, go ahead.
Okay.
Do we get some non-public minutes, Beth? So it looks like we have two. We'll do the one from December 18th first. All right, if we want to do December 18th first.
Sure.
Someone wants to make a motion to accept, or?
Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of December 18th, 2023 in non-public session minutes.
And keep them sealed?
Yes.
So second.
Second by Jay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now we got the 27th.
I wasn't present for that one, and I see my names on it.
Which one?
The
Dated
27th?
for December 27th.
You weren't listed as present at the top.
Yeah,
right-hand
but
side.
look what it says.
Yeah, it's right where it says the, when it's
I was
pulled.
seconded.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay. That's easy, we can just remove that. Can we just get a motion?
So I'll make a motion to accept and keep sealed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
So 401.
I'm just passing everything down.
And the next is we need to set our schedule for,
Before you do that, can you discuss presidential primary on January 23rd?
sure. We have a presidential primary coming up on January 23rd. So I think, we should set the schedule for that. I know myself, I took the day off of work so I can be around all day. I don't know what anyone else's schedule is that day.
I've cleared my day,
I'm-
and the fishing game has cleared its location.
Okay, perfect.
I'll be gone for that day.
Tammy will be
But you
gone.
have me all day March in the March election.
Good.
Hopefully it doesn't snow.
I'm off and can be there the whole day.
Okay. So that's at least 3 of us.
I'll be there.
And Darrell will be there too. I mean, we can kind of work it out. I mean, if somebody obviously has to leave for a few hours, as long as
Right.
there's at least 2 of us there, I think we'll be good.
There is a training this Thursday. Is anyone else going to that?
I had planned on going to it, but I just found out at about 4:00 this afternoon, I have to go to Florida for business.
That's so much worse.
That's Atkinson, right? That's-
Yeah, it's in Atkinson at the
I
community
have
center.
that penciled in, and somebody's covering my other meeting, so.
You wanna
we can
carpool?
over to that.
And there were,
So far
it
away.
is so far away. It's probably more out of your way to carpool than it is to just drive there. There are some online trainings out there too that we sent out, so if you get a chance to look at it, if you can do the online kind of webinars, things like that, because obviously it's a big year. We have the primary, then we also have the election later in the year as well. Okay, and then next up, we need to set the remainder schedule for January through March. Obviously, we meet today. We're looking at, so if we follow the normal progression, it would be, from the 8th, it would be the 22nd. And then I was thinking we should probably pencil in the 29th as well, because that would be right before deliberative, because deliberative would be on that Saturday. If we don't need it, we can always not have it.
Okay.
Just your thoughts too. And then the other thought would be on the 4th, which is 2 days after deliberative as well.
The 5th.
Oh, we'd meet on the 4th.
You mean the 5th?
Fifth.
The 5th. What am I looking
The
at?
fifth.
Okay, the 5th. Need my eyes checked. And then I think from there, we could probably, so that would be like 3 in a row. I'm not sure we're going to need all 3 in a row, but just to have them when we have deliberative coming up. And then we could just go from there the 19th. And then from the 19th, we could look at March 4th. And do you feel that you should have one the day before the elections or not necessary? The town elections? Probably not, right?
Unless there's anything we need to.
Which
Do.
I don't think there probably would be, right?
I
It's
don't
around
think so.
deliberative. So then we'll just go the 4th, then right to the 18th?
Yep.
Did you get all that? We had that went around before was, we need to approve the consent agenda. We only had 2 items on there. The first one was the accounts payable manifest for the week of December 28th, 2023, January 4th and 11th of 2024, in the BOS draft minutes of December 18th and 27th, 2023.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Second by Darrell. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So it's 5-0-0. And Greg, what do you got for us tonight?
A couple of significant things, I guess I'll leave it at that. The Atkinson dispatch contract has been finalized and signed and is going before their board tonight with a 10% increase in the first year and 8.5% increase in each of the 4 subsequent years. Our current ladder truck, the old one, not the new one, is dead, I guess, for lack of a better term. It stopped working last week. It's been evaluated by more than one person. At this point, the motor won't even turn over. So mutual aid we're backfilling through mutual aid between Atkinson and Haverhill. They both have ladder trucks, but the idea with the new one coming in May, that is going to be far more costly to try to repair it, and given the time frame between now and May, not to bother at this point. So
Yeah, and not only that, probably if you went out to have it repaired, you probably wouldn't have it back before the end of March anyways.
Right.
So now you're talking only about a month, right?
Yeah.
Significant
significant cost to tow it, significant cost to, well, now that the engine won't start, you can't lift the ladder to be able to look at the engine, so you'd be paying extra to get the hydraulics going, and it's just turned into a real mess. So,
It's, I guess, fortunate that we have one coming.
yes.
So what are we gonna do with it? Just leave it there? We're gonna scrap it? We're gonna sell it? We're gonna?
The chief has been calling around to see if what there are for options.
Okay.
One scrap metal place said probably the tow bill will be more than what we'll give you for it. So
He can probably get rid of it down south where he got rid of the last one.
maybe.
Be an expensive tow down there, but that's on them, right?
I don't think Danny wants to push it that far with his loader, from the highway department. The septic work has been started up at the public safety complex. I want hands off with the snowstorm to the crew, the town employees, the contractors and the like, that were here for a significant amount of time from Saturday afternoon through today, in the hours that they put in. And then also I'm working on a proposal for an inspection of the water tank. So should have numbers here pretty soon to get a engineering estimate on the condition of the tank. So
The tower
the tower.
over
Yeah.
by the highway garage?
Yes.
Okay.
Amongst other things. You don't have enough time.
Just to add on to the staff, like they did a tremendous job cleaning the streets. It was a long duration storm, so
Yeah.
kudos to the highway department and all of our contractors that were out there keeping the roads clear. So
Yeah. No, they did a great job. You went to some other towns. I think we were much better off than a lot of other towns were out there.
Oh, I was plowing in Haverhill and it was horrible, man.
Yeah. Yeah. They were even still out there cleaning up a little bit this afternoon, making sure everything was wide. All
thank
right.
you guys.
The selectmen's reports. Tammy?
I don't have anything. The only thing I do have is I have that conservation meeting on Thursday at 7. That's it.
Darrell?
Nope.
Jay?
I have a budget meeting now that will start soon to finalize the budget and the warrant articles for deliberative. I saw an article in the paper about the junior firefighter program. I just want to say congratulations to the fire department, Derek Travers, for that program. It's a year old now. They started with 6 kids. They have 17 now. And it's really grown. The school has got involved and is providing credits for kids that are participating in the program. So
That's great.
it's been a really good program. So
It's a lot of kudos to Derek. You hear Derek talk about the passion that he has for it.
Absolutely.
It really is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So good thing. Huh?
I had nothing in the past and I have Old Home Day tomorrow and then I'll sit in with you on con too.
All I had was I had planning board last week where we had the public hearing on the warrant articles. That was all I had last week. I think everything's probably started kicking back in again, now that the holidays are behind us. Some events coming up. Public hearing on the 2024 proposed budget is tomorrow night, Tuesday, January 9th at 6:30 PM at the Plastow Town Hall. The next ambulance service session is January 16th at 6 o'clock, the Plastow Public Library. That is the last one that's scheduled. If you haven't had a chance to go to any of the previous two, I suggest that you do attend this. It's well worth it, to really find out what the ambulance service does include and why we made this change. We already went over the presidential primary. Will be Tuesday, January 23rd, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Plastow Fishing Game at 18 Mayray Ave. The town hall and the annex are closed on, was it Monday, 1/15 for Civil Rights Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And with the deliberative session is upcoming on February 3rd upstairs at the town hall at 9 a.m. Does anyone have anything else they want to bring up?
Could we just get that, that last information night sent out in an email blast for the ambulance?
We can. Yeah, we do that. It's been on Facebook. It's been all over. So hopefully we'll get a good turnout for that one. And I guess that will be it. We will close the meeting at 7:14. Thank you. Have a good night. And I guess give it a few minutes while we play musical chairs and the budget committee comes on. 10 minutes.
Before the selectmen leave, this is the document for the right to know that needs to be signed.
That's what.
That's snazzy. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call this Budget Committee meeting to order at 7:26. Could I please get a roll call?
Kate Nixon.
Here.
Doug Thompson.
Here.
Rudy Anthony.
Here.
Ed Carter is absent.
Yep.
David Burns.
Here.
Margaret Collins.
Here.
Liz Costa.
Here.
John Sherman is excused.
Yes.
Jay Roche.
Here.
Greg Colby.
Here.
Me, and we have Bill Coyle, that's all.
Here.
All right. If everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have the December 19th meeting minutes in front of you. When you have a chance, please read them, and then I need a motion to accept.
Make a motion to accept the December 19th meeting minutes.
The motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Liz. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed and abstained. Okay. There is nobody here from the public for comment. So we're going to move on. So elections, the budgets that we have left to approve tonight are elections and the operating budget. Elections for the 2024 budget is $37,000. Of that, $12,000 is for inclusion of the new voting machines. I believe at this time, the state still hasn't made a decision. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the election? Yeah, go ahead, Liz.
I have one question. What happens if the Secretary of State makes the call that we're going to use XYZ piece of equipment? We don't have the money in the budget, but they want it to be used in the fall. How will that be handled?
That's a good question.
Well, I believe we have the whole year of 2024 to use our equipment,
Okay,
the ballot machines that we have now, because they'll expire at the end of 2024.
okay,
Or it won't be maintained or serviced after that.
after,
Right.
okay.
Anybody have any other questions about the election budget? Seeing that there isn't, can I get a motion to accept the election budget for $37,000?
I'll make a motion to accept the elections budget for $37,000.
Thank you. Got a motion to a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gurns. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed and abstained. One abstention. Okay. All right, operating budget. Essentially, this is going into the warrant articles, correct, Jay?
Yes.
Okay. So if you guys look at page 2 of your packet of your warrant articles, yeah. Article P-24-02, shall the town vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant article and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $12,570,807, with the sum of $200,000 to come from the unassigned fund balance. Should this article be defeated, the operating budget shall be $12,312,846, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, Roman numeral X and XI to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. Majority vote is required. This is recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0-0.
Make a motion to approve, to recommend the operating budget warrant article P-2402.
Have a motion to have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Margot. Any discussion on the operating budget for the town?
warrant article.
Oh, all right. What's the logic for the $200,000 coming from the unassigned fund, other than just to make the balances, I guess, that are being raised from taxation close to, the unassigned fund and the operating budget relatively the same?
So the thought process around that was in regards to the ambulance. So the ambulance, I'm using round numbers, not exact numbers that are in the budget, $600,000 for the new ambulance service. We're anticipating taking in about $400,000 in revenue. That $200,000 that we would take from the unassigned fund balance would fill that gap. So we're not asking the taxpayers to raise an additional $200,000 towards the ambulance. Please correct me if I misstated anything, Mr. Colby.
You got it correct. That was the thought process.
I just think from the minutes of the last meeting where we'd asked, is there a mechanism where we, similar to what we do with the water department, whereas the water department revenue is an enterprise fund, is there a way to have the revenue coming in from the ambulance service treated similarly as a sort of an enterprise fund type arrangement?
Yes, a enterprise special revenue revolving fund could be set up for the ambulance, but it is not anticipated for it to be self-supporting, at least in the beginning. So therefore, you would still be raising and appropriating the difference to go into that fund. I think that once we are up and going with it, that will, be looked at, whether to pull it into a separate fund so that, if it is making money, to have that dedicated just to that program. So
I think a major selling point of the ambulance service, or wanting to take the ambulance service in-house, is that there is, some projected revenue. And I guess, just speaking on, from my perspective, is that we'd want to not just have that revenue come in and then be dissipated through the budget process and then be, the following year we're hit with, you need to appropriate this money, regardless of what came in. And so it'd be something that I at least would like to see, in a perfect universe.
Yeah. Anybody have any other questions about the,
Will tabs be kept on? First of all, we have to get this up and running, meaning we're not paying an outside contractor. That money would have just been spent and gone with no opportunity of a return. But are we going to keep tabs? Will tabs be available to us on what the ambulance service is going to be bringing in?
I would say yes.
Okay. So we had a chance to make something back versus paying it out to a private contractor.
Oh, absolutely. Any other questions about this warrant article? There's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstained. All right. The next thing that we are going is on page 3. It's the collective bargaining agreement. It is for the police union. This is Article P-24-04. Shall the town of Plastow vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement CBA reached between the town of Plastow and the Plastow Police Union? They changed the language, strike out town unit, and they're going to call it the Plastow Police Union. Teamsters Local 633, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level. So contract year April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025, the estimated increase is $180,756. April 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2026, the estimated increase is $179,942. April 1st, 2026 to March 31st, 2027, the estimate increases is $156,389. and further to raise and appropriate the sum of $135,567 for 2024. Majority vote is required. This was, you all voted on this tonight, correct?
Yeah, we recommended it 500.
It was recommended by the Board of Selectmen 500, and now it's on to us.
Jay, do you have the percentages for each one of those years?
Not off the top of my head, but Mr. Colby does.
The contract would call for a 6.5% increase in year one, a 4% increase in year two, and a 3% increase in year three.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And what this does is it really brings our department up to the same standard, same level as surrounding towns. Also makes it a more competitive for us to maintain and hire new people to fill those positions. So.
So I'm going to make a motion to recommend Article P-24-04.
I'll make
Make
that
a-
motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Liz, second by Jay. Anybody have any other questions about this warrant? Seeing that there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstained. We do not need to go over the next one because it does not have a dollar amount with it. The next one is going to be on page 6. It's going to be deposit to the fire department apparatus capital reserve fund. This is Article P-24-17. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $140,000 to be deposited into the previously established fire department apparatus capital reserve fund? Majority vote is required. Total appropriations is $140,000. The balance in the fire department apparatus capital reserve fund, we don't have a number there as of December 31st, 2023. This was recommended by the Board of Selectmen 400. Or did you all revote on that tonight?
We revoted it at 500.
So now it's 500.
I'll make a motion to recommend P-24-17.
Have a motion to have a second?
I'd like to second it.
Second by Margot. Mr. Colby, do you know how much is in the capital reserve? I know there's some X's here, but I didn't know if you, by the chance, knew.
Well, the latest numbers I have in that are approximately $602,000, but we're also paying for the ambulance out of that, so that, we basically cut that in half. So
Okay.
We're still waiting on trust fund statements for end of year.
Right. Okay. Anybody have any questions about this article? There's been a motion and a second made. Seeing that there is none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed and abstained. Okay. And then by the bottom of the page, Plastow Historical Society support. This is Article P-24-19. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $8,036 to support the operation of the Historical Society? This is recommended by the Board of Selectmen 500.
I'll make a motion to recommend P-24-19.
Have a motion to recommend. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Liz. Anybody have any questions on this warrant? All right, seeing that there is none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed and abstained. Okay. All right, and I believe, let's see, you all struck that one off. So that's it on our warrant article, correct?
Yeah, the next few are not money-related items, so Budget Committee doesn't need to vote.
Okay. Let's see. New business, old business. We have ambulance insurance. I can't remember the questions for those.
I think the ambulance was the mechanism for realizing That was Mr. Anthony's
Yeah,
question.
that was what that was. Okay. All right. Anybody have any other business that they like to bring up at this time?
Just a question.
Yep.
In the future, if we wanted to make the ambulance service an enterprise fund to capture that revenue, what's the mechanism for making that happen?
It would be a warrant article to establish that. It would have its own, it would be similar to the Water Enterprise Fund where you would have your own separate budget specifically for that department, for the ambulance service. Be its own standalone budget.
And if it's not, I mean, is it too soon to do that now, even if it's not technically self-sustaining? I mean, we kind of had to do that for the water fund in the beginning.
Well, when we established the water fund, we had a water department that had money in it. So we established that enterprise fund, and we had another warrant article to move the funds that were in there. That's the revenue from into that enterprise fund, so that we could be self-sustaining in the beginning. It would, if all goes well this year, maybe next year we put a warrant article in to do the same. I'd be hesitant to rush it in right now just because we're not.
It's not even started yet.
It hasn't started yet, and we don't know what the revenue stream is going to be. We have a conservative number, but it could be more, it could be less. We just don't know yet. So.
All right.
Good questions. Anybody else have any other business? Before our next meeting is going to be tomorrow for the hearing here at 6:30. Welcome the public to come and listen. After tomorrow, there will be nothing else for the budget committee except for when we have deliberative, which I believe you all just talked about it tonight. It's going to be on February the 3rd at 9 a.m., correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is the snow day the next day or is it next week?
Next Saturday, the 10th.
Yeah. So hopefully we don't need it, but if we do, the snow day for that is February the 10th. Does anybody have anything else?
I would just like to make a comment strictly from reading in the Eagle Tribune. Looks like we've had a couple of really amazing grants brought into this town. Compliments of our fire chief and our town manager. I understand all grants are paid for by overall the taxpayers, but we've got them specifically for this town. And I think it's going to make a huge dent down the road. And having written a couple of grants back in the day, I know how much time, energy, and research it takes. It's not something that you just go like that with. And I guess more than anything, I don't see you very often. I'd just like to thank you for helping to make that happen.
My pleasure. It's team.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I want more.
We've got a good team here, so it's,
But I feel it's important from where we sit that it's recognized.
Absolutely.
And sincerely, I thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Colby does good work. All right. Well, I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 7:44. See you all tomorrow.
So I was afraid to even ask. I can't ask 6 o'clock every time I come to 6:30.
I almost expected that.
Thank you.